There we go. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Art of Reading Smoke with Phil Jose. I'm Phil Jose. Hey, thanks for coming to my YouTube page. If you're here already or if you haven't been here before, then take a look because there's a lot of videos here. They're all up for you to use, and they all have the links to the original video. So if you look at something, hey, that looks really interesting, click the link, go to the original, and even hit thumbs up and like over there, and let everybody know who's posting these videos that you appreciate the fact that they're out there for you to learn from. Today we're going to be looking at, so this is well into the environment, into the fire, right? So we're going to talk about here is a little bit of ventilation and what's going on with it. So you can see the ladder here. Let's get it rolling. Firefighter's going to set this ladder up, and then they're going to vent this window. And notice that even though we have light, just a low volume, it looks like a relatively laminar smoke here. Recognize that window is closed, and so that means it's getting forced out around the cracks and seams of the window, right? So that means there's pretty good pressure behind it. And there's other openings in this place, right? So you have the front doors open, the line's already in there. I suspect the fire's already been tapped to some degree, because you can see in here that there was smoke coming out of the front door originally, right? Firefighter's going to get up here and he's going to vent. And one of the things with adding ventilation is that engine company has to be in position, right? This has to be coordinated. And so he starts venting it here, and you can see already not only a significant volume, but there's really some significant heat in here, pretty significant turbulence. Even though he's only got part of the window broken out, so there's a lot of pressure behind this, right? And so that should be just a little bit of a red flag, except that maybe that's exactly what you want, right? If the engine company is advancing, if they're making the call, that sort of thing, that's perfect, right? We want to add ventilation right when the engine company is starting to apply water, right? So ventilation in lieu of water application. Like if you don't have water, you shouldn't be venting, right? So one of the things I talk about regularly in the classes is when we're doing ventilation, we want to understand that late or no ventilation, right? Regardless of what else is going on, late or no ventilation is better than early ventilation. Early ventilation can create significant problems. I have no idea whether this is early or late or what happens with it, right? I don't know anything about this, so I'm not kibitzing on or Monday morning quarterbacking the process here. I'm just trying to learn and help you learn from what we can see. And what we can see initially is a significant velocity and then a pretty significant volume coming out here. And let's get it rolling and watch it. This firefighter is going to take out the rest of the window, right? And as they do that, you notice that there's significant velocity and almost 100% exhaust in the window. Maybe a little bit of intake at the bottom, but a lot of exhaust. And so from this point, we're going to get to see, the volume and velocity, intensity, color, right? All four of our attributes are going to get worse. We're starting to see fire in there. And within, maybe 15 or 20 seconds, the room is going to significantly flash over. Right? There's going to be significant fire out of the window. And now we're starting to see a little bit of our mindset that smoke is fuel. Remember, that's always lesson number one when thinking about reading smoke is fuel. You have to understand that's fuel. And notice that as it burns here, there's a little bit of leftover. But I think this is really quite spectacular demonstration of the fact that smoke is fuel, and when you have the right temperature and right mix, there's almost no smoke left over, and that's the case that we have going on here. I'm going to actually go back and play through this whole sequence from like basically where he breaks the window. Now, eventually they do get water into this window, into this space to start putting this thing out, but look at it from the side. That's the same time frame. Look at how far it's coming out and then lighting on fire, right? It's a really stark example of our concept of smoke is fuel, right? And so one of the things that we want to be thinking about if we're that outside vent or we're on the roof or we're taking a door or a window, whatever it is that you're doing relative to ventilation, you want to be certain right, that what's going on inside the space is what needs to be happening. The engine needs to be in position with the water, ready to apply it, or already be applying it. So when we looked at that in Seattle, when I was there, what we did, I was going to go back just a little bit more, was in our SOG on ventilation, it says the ventilation strategy is to limit ventilation until water application is imminent or achieved, right? And you know it's imminent because the engine company calls you and says, we want you to vent, right? Then you have to figure that they're in position. They know, right? I'm not saying it can't be wrong, but that's their call, right? The other is if you see or hear them operating in the space, and you can hear that line operating when it gets into that room, starts hitting that window and stuff. You can hear them, and if you can hear them operating in that space, then you can go ahead and vent at that point in time too, right? So limit ventilation until water application is imminent or achieved, and then once that's achieved, then we can really vent once we know that we're over the top on the fire from a suppression. We've got plenty of water in there. We can maximize our ventilation at that point in time, get all the smoke out, all the toxic gases out, and facilitate searches, facilitate rescues, things like that. Okay, so once again, he breaks it. There's a lot of volume and velocity. The density is sort of in the middle, and the color's in the grayscale because they've been operating in this house, there's probably a lot of water vapor. It's going to start to ignite. We're going to see both ignition coming out of the room and then smoke ignition outside of the space. And when we get really good mix, really good temperature, really good mix, then we have almost no smoke left over here. But recognize there is a ton of BTUs being produced here. And on the other side of this room, the doorway, that sort of thing, there's also going to be smoke pushing out there. People in the hallway are going to see the smoke banking down, right? They're reading smoke in the hallway. It's going to be banking down quickly, getting hot quickly, and if they're in there, they need to get that line open and start getting water into this room. Now, you can, and so that's the impact, right? And all I'm saying, oops, I wanted to get this part here. Just smoke is fuel, man. You can just watch it light off here. And repeatedly, it's got to be right temperature, right mix. Well, once it is, man, we're off to the races on BTU production. Excuse me. Okay, so early on, when you're going to vent, recognize that if there's pressure coming out, right, if you're especially as close as this firefighter gets, if this thing is pushing out around the edges, the cracks, the seams, there's significant pressure in there. That means that the fire is in the growth, right? The temperature's getting hotter, the gases are expanding. If we were over the top on it, the fire was in the decay state, the temperature would be going down and the gases would be contracting, right? So with that much pressure in the space, and if you're on the fire ground, you might think, hey, the engine's in position. Or it might be one of those things like, hey, maybe I should reach out and talk to them on the radio, say, hey, I'm about to take this window, you guys at the top of the stairs, that sort of thing, right? Get that thing coordinated. So that when you add ventilation, it's coordinated with fire flow, water flow, fire attack, right? And we can read that on the outside of this window. This is a great video. It has a lot more to it. The link's in the show notes. I'll be headed out to McMinnville, Oregon tomorrow to teach tactical decision making. I'll be down in Coral Gables, then Polk County in Florida, and then up to Center Reach in New York, Long Island. All right, so that's just the next couple of weeks. As always, in the show notes, there's a series. It tells everywhere I'm teaching them, everywhere I'm set to go over the next few months. So if you ever want to know where I'm teaching, just look at that. Or you can always hit me in the comments or send me a direct message, whatever the case is. Or if you want to hire me to do a class, that's fine too. I'm definitely booked out in 22, but I'm definitely doing stuff in 23. So with that, and the Art of Reading Smoke with Phil Jose, I'm Phil Jose, and I'm out.